Let's travel back in time. Imagine a world where knowledge is a treasure, locked away in stone monasteries and royal libraries. For 1,000 years, books were rare and precious objects, each one painstakingly copied by hand by scribes, a process that could take months, even years. In this world, information was not free, it was controlled. The vast majority of people lived and died within the confines of what they were told by the authorities of the day, with little power to verify, question, or contribute to the great conversations shaping their lives. Then, around the year 1450, in the German city of Mainz, a goldsmith named Johannes Gutenberg ignited a revolution that would reshape civilization. His invention, the printing press with movable metal type, was far more than a clever machine. It was a catalyst that would redefine power, religion, science, and the very structure of society. Today, we stand at the threshold of another such transformation, one driven not by ink and lead, but by algorithms and neural networks. The explosive arrival of artificial intelligence is being hailed as our generation's Gutenberg moment. But is this comparison truly fitting? To understand the future we are hurtling towards, we must first look to the past. What can a 500-year-old information revolution teach us about the one we are just beginning to navigate? And what is the fundamental difference that makes our current challenge unique in all of human history? The spread of Gutenberg's invention was breathtakingly fast. Within just 50 years of his first Bible being printed, presses were operating in over 200 cities across Europe. By the year 1500, more than 20 million books had been produced, more than all the scribes in Europe had created in the previous 1,000 years. This torrent of printed material didn't just make books cheaper, it shattered the dam that had for so long contained knowledge. The societal impact was seismic. The radical ideas of reformers like Martin Luther, printed in thousands of pamphlets, could now spread across the continent in weeks, challenging the centuries-old authority of the Catholic Church and fueling the Protestant Reformation. Scientists like Copernicus and Galileo could now share their discoveries with a wide community of peers, confident that each copy was an exact replica of the original. This ability to accurately reproduce and distribute texts and diagrams laid the very foundation for the scientific revolution. With this newfound access to information, literacy rates began to climb, a literate middle class emerged, and for the first time, ordinary people were empowered to read, interpret, and form their own opinions, independent of the church or state. But was this explosion of information a pure and simple force for enlightenment? Or did this powerful new tool have a darker side? The printing press was a neutral amplifier. It reproduced truth and beauty with the same mechanical indifference as it reproduced lies and hatred. As one 16th century observer, the Vicar of Croydon warned with remarkable foresight, "We must root out printing, or printing will root us out." This fear was not unfounded. While the press printed Bibles and scientific treatises, it also gave rise to a terrifying phenomenon, the Great European Witch Hunts. This mass hysteria was not, as is often believed, a medieval crisis. It was a distinctly modern one, fueled by a modern technology. For centuries, the Catholic Church had largely dismissed the idea of a grand conspiracy of witches as a pagan superstition. But in the 15th and 16th centuries, new and terrifying theories emerged, claiming a vast Satan-led conspiracy was aiming to destroy society. And how did these theories spread? Through the printing press. Pamphlets, books, and treatises filled with fake news and religious fantasies about the supposed evils of witches became bestsellers, spreading fear and paranoia across the continent. In this chaotic new information network, it became nearly impossible for the average person to distinguish between scientific facts and wild conspiracy theories. The established powers tried to regain control. In 1515, Pope Leo X unable to control the technology itself, decreed that no book could be published without the church's approval. But it was too late. The press was everywhere. This reveals the crucial limitation of Gutenberg's invention. The press could only reproduce what was given to it. It was a passive tool, a powerful conduit in the information network, but not an active participant. It could not think, it could not reason, and it could not distinguish truth from falsehood. It simply gave humanity a more powerful mirror to reflect its own wisdom and its own folly. This leads us to the critical question for our time. What happens when the machine is no longer just a mirror? What happens when it begins to think for itself? Today, artificial intelligence might be called the new printing press. It promises to democratize not just knowledge, but intelligence itself, making sophisticated analysis, content creation, and problem-solving accessible to everyone. AI can accelerate scientific research at a pace previously unimaginable, help doctors diagnose diseases, and create personalized learning plans for students. The potential for a new age of enlightenment seems boundless. But to see AI as just a more efficient printing press is to make a profound category error. The printing press, the radio, the television, these were all technologies that connected human minds to other human minds. They were passive links in a network composed entirely of people. AI is fundamentally different. It is not just a tool that transmits information. It is a system that can generate it. For the first time in history, we have introduced a non-human agent into our global information network, a member that can learn, make decisions, and create new content, often without direct human supervision. It is not an extension of our hands, like a hammer. It is in the worst case a replacement for our cognitive functions. What does it mean for us to no longer be the sole authors of ideas on this planet? What are the implications of introducing a new, non-human intelligence into our global conversation? This fundamental shift from a passive tool to an active agent presents us with a set of challenges that Gutenberg's era, for all its turmoil, never had to face. First, there is the challenge of cognitive offloading. Think of how GPS has changed our sense of direction. Frequent use can lead to a decline in the parts of the brain responsible for spatial navigation. As we delegate more and more cognitive tasks to AI, from writing our emails to analyzing complex data, are we risking the erosion of our own abilities? What happens to human expertise when the machine can not only assist us, but replace our need to think critically? Secondly, we face a new, more potent form of misinformation. The printing press could spread lies written by humans. AI can generate those lies or misinformation. It can create sophisticated and highly personalized propaganda, fake news, and scams on a scale that is almost incomprehensible. When a machine can create a flawless deepfake video of a world leader, or write thousands of convincing but entirely fabricated news articles in seconds, how can we possibly discern what is real? The line between truth and fiction becomes dangerously blurred. Third, this revolution challenges the very foundations of knowledge itself. The printing press led to the creation of copyright laws and the concept of authorship. But who is the author when an AI writes an essay? Who owns the copyright to an image a machine creates from a simple prompt? Furthermore, these AI models are trained on the vast, messy, and often toxic content of the Internet. How do we prevent them from becoming powerful engines for perpetuating and amplifying our worst implicit biases and prejudices on a global scale? An AI trained on biased data will produce biased results, creating systemic discrimination in everything from hiring to loan applications. Faced with this upheaval, our first instinct might be to control the technology itself. But history teaches us this is a fool's errand. Just as Pope Leo X could not stop the spread of printing presses, we cannot simply uninvent AI. The technology is here, and its capabilities are expanding exponentially. The Gutenberg experience informs us that our goal cannot be to control the technology, but to seek stability through the diligent supervision of its effects. This oversight can be broken down into at least 3 critical areas. First, we must deal with how AI enhances old-fashioned abuses. Consumer scams, financial fraud, and identity theft are all made easier and more effective by AI. Fortunately, many of our existing laws can be applied. As the U.S. Federal Trade Commission Chair has stated, there is no AI exemption in current law. Second, we must grapple with the new abuses that are unique to this technology, such as the potential for autonomous AI agents to manipulate financial markets or for AI-powered surveillance to erode privacy on an unprecedented scale. Finally, we must prepare for the unknown unknowns. The printing press led to the Reformation and the rise of the nation-state, consequences no one could have predicted in 1450. We may not know what the next generation of AI's effects will be, but we can be certain they are coming. Our only hope is to act with the speed and decisiveness of AI itself. The story of Gutenberg's press is a powerful reminder that every information revolution is a double-edged sword. It unleashes incredible forces for progress, education, and liberation. But it also provides powerful new tools for division, confusion, and control. The press didn't create the ideas of the Reformation or the paranoia of the witch hunts. It amplified the human passions that drove them. The critical difference today is the nature of the agent. Gutenberg gave us a faster horse. AI is a new kind of rider. It is not just amplifying human intelligence. It is introducing a new form of intelligence into our world. A digital species that learns, evolves, and acts. This forces us to move beyond the old questions and ask new, more profound ones. The choices we make now, as individuals, as societies, and as a species, will determine the course of this new revolution.